Welcome to this unique, in-depth webcast. For a remarkable reason, the tennis world has come to a complete halt today. The 2026 BNP Paribas Open draws at Indian Wells have been made public, and tucked away in the brackets is a first-round match that is shocking people all across the world. This is an epic battle between generations. A live match in the California desert that seems like it was staged for Hollywood. The undeniable classic and trailblazer Venus Williams, a 45-year-old seven-time Grand Slam champion, will take on Alexandra Ella, a 20-year-old Filipina phenomenon who recently rose to the top of the Asian tennis rankings. However, the expression, passing the torch, is frequently used in sports media. There is much more to this experience than that. On one of the biggest stages in women's tennis, it symbolizes the spectacular collision of two eras. Millions of fans, commentators, and former players quickly realized the importance of the contest once the draw was announced on social media. The rest of the competition, which includes Aina Sabalenka, IGTCH, and Coco Gauff, has been eclipsed by its compelling plot, which is loaded with emotion, history, and competitive fire. The location itself must be taken into account in order to fully comprehend the significance. Many people consider the BNP Paribas Open, often known as Tennis Paradise, to be the fifth Grand Slam. The second biggest permanent tennis stadium in the world is located at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, which is surrounded by the breathtaking Santa Rosa Mountains. The desert heat produces an environment that challenges players' mental and physical stamina. Only the greatest make it through this crucial part of the hard court season. These two titans of tennis will square off in this harsh yet legendary environment. The Women's Tennis Association tours past and future are set to meet in this stunning desert oasis. Venus Williams, who is known for her brilliance, strength, and tenacity, was given a wild card spot in this year's main draw, making her comeback to Indian Wells a spectacle in and of itself. Venus became a professional in October 1994 and has been at the top of the sport for more than 30 years. She has won several Grand Slam championships, dominated the world rankings for weeks, and transformed women's tennis with her baseline power and athleticism long before her opponent was born. She's not just a player. She is a living example of the passion for the game, a cultural icon, and a trailblazer for fair pay. With an irrepressible competitive drive, Venus continues to compete at the age of 45, when many of her peers have retired to private or commentary lives, making every match a momentous affair. However, this forthcoming match is by no means a victory lap. A young talent named Alexandra Ella is playing the best tennis of her career while standing across the net. Ella, who represents the Philippines, is one of the tour's most cunning and deadly rivals when she gets to Indian Wells. After an outstanding performance at the Dubai Tennis Championships, he recently reached a career-high ranking of world number 31. She defeated elite opponents and showed tactical maturity beyond her 20 years of age during the past few weeks, transforming from a promising prospect into a real threat. With her devastating left-handed forehand, amazing court coverage, and training refined at the Rafa Nadal Academy, Ella represents the aspirations of a country yearning for a world-class tennis player. The stadium will be filled with supporters waving their national flags thanks to the Filipino diaspora in California, generating an atmosphere akin to a Billie Jean King Cup match. On one side is the ageless aura of Venus, which the American audience regards as royalty. On the other hand, Ella's unwavering, ravenous energy, driven to make tennis history. Venus Williams' ageless presence stands in stark contrast to Alex Eala's dynamic and fiercely supported persona, which bears the hopes of an entire nation. The emotional impact of this matchup has made it a worldwide headline, and the stakes are quite high. This conflict at Indian Wells is made much more intriguing by one additional important aspect, though. Although this will be their first encounter in singles, the two previously played each other in a doubles match at the ASB Classic in Auckland, New Zealand, at the beginning of the 2026 season. In that match, Venus and her highly acclaimed partner Elena Svitolina were defeated in straight sets 7-6, 6-1, by Ella, who was partnered with American adolescent IIC, in a stunning upset. With Ella clearly starring at the net and acknowledging the odd sensation of competing against a pioneer she had admired since childhood, the match provided a glimpse of the generational transition. But once the ball was in play, Ella showed relentless, reckless competition. Exactly the kind of instinct needed to become the best in the sport. However, Converting that doubles triumph into a singles match at a WTA 1000 required event presents a completely different difficulty. Venus poses a completely different test when she dictates points on her own terms with a huge first serve and commanding wingspan. Ella is aware of what it's like to defeat Venus, but the ultimate test of her recently established top 31 ranking is to do so in a one-on-one baseline match in the California desert. Major networks and magazines have cleared their front pages for the showdown, which is why the sports world is aflutter. It involves more than just proficient forehand and backhand technique. It is a story, a clash of times, and an examination of poise, skill, and legacy. This tale of a seasoned warrior who defies the dying of the light to refuse to give up is a sporting classic. Confronting a youthful talent who was swiftly ascending the mountain that the veteran had once controlled. It is a game that perfectly captures all of our favorite aspects of sports. History, raw emotion, unpredictable events, and the unrelenting, exquisite march of time. As this big event draws near, it's obvious that the match will go down in tennis history regardless of the winner. The poetic serendipity of the draw, which enables fans to see such a significant clash of periods, is just as captivating to the world as the names involved. There's a sense of anticipation. The hard courts of Indian Wells are prepared to host a fight that will be remembered for years to come. Now that the level of difficulty has been determined, it is time to examine the match in further detail, examining its layers, historical background, tactical subtleties, and psychological warfare that will characterize Alexandra Ella versus Venus Williams at the BNP Paribas Open. We must first review Venus Williams' complicated and occasionally turbulent relationship with Indian Wells in order to completely comprehend its significance. The Williams sisters notoriously abstained from the competition for years after a very upsetting event in 2001. Chapter that was influenced by historical and personal conflicts that molded their connection to the incident. Venus Williams at Indian Wells has a rich history of both controversy and atonement. For more than 10 years after a hostile crowd incident in 2001, the tournament was bereft of its best American stars. Venus's eventual return in 2016 was a time of great grace and healing. Standing ovations greeted her, turning the scene of previous suffering into one of victorious rebirth. Every game she plays here is a celebration of her lasting legacy, and she accepted a wild card into the 2026 main draw at the age of 45. Venus uses aggressive first-strike tennis on the court. Her serve's location, deception, and stratospheric trajectories make it formidable even though it may no longer regularly hit the 120 miles per hour peak of her prime. Any defense can still be destroyed by her flat, penetrating ground strokes, especially her devastating two-handed backhand down the line. However, the desert environment in Indian Wells poses a special difficulty. The gritty courts favor strong top spin players and counterpunchers who do well in lengthy rallies because they create high bounces and slightly slow the ball. Shots can go quickly due to the dry air, but a flat hitter like Venus must produce tremendous personal force on the surface, which depends on accurate footwork and early preparation. This inevitably prepares the 20-year-old Alexandra Ella's tactical profile, as she has refined her skills to handle such difficulties and is prepared to put the legend to the test in one of tennis' most taxing settings. Alexandra Ella has created a game that is ideal for Indian Wells settings. She developed a style that depends on strong top spin, exceptional agility, and unrelenting baseline endurance while training intensively on clay and hard courts in Spain. She is a product of the contemporary, very physical era of women's tennis. Ella uses her forehand crosscourt to target the backhand of right-handed opponents, giving her an instant tactical edge as a left-hander. Venus Williams has one of the best two-handed backhands in tennis history, but an important tactic for her will be Ella's ability to draw her wide with high-kicking top spin. It is no coincidence that she is now ranked 31st in the world this week. Ella showed incredible perseverance at the recent Dubai Tennis Championships, a WTA 1000 event, defeating Sarana Circe and masterminding an incredible upset victory over Jasmine Pauini. Her ability to solve problems under duress was just as impressive as her shot-making. Ella maintained accuracy while increasing her intensity as the matches got tighter. She learned a crucial lesson against top-5 power from her eventual quarterfinal defeat to Coco Gauff, where she was outpaced late in the match. She learned the difference between extending rallies and pulling the trigger, as well as the necessary development to confront Venus. Venus prefers short, precise 3 or 4 shot sequences that are controlled by her strength, but Ella will try to extend rallies by drawing her into 8, 10, or 12 shot exchanges, requiring lateral movement and additional balls. Ella moves with such energy that she absorbs and redirects pace. Additionally, she might progressively undermine the veteran's offensive strategy if she can loop big balls deep on the grim Indian well surface while keeping Venus stuck behind the baseline. However, it is impossible to undervalue Venus's strategic acumen and sheer resolve. She has encountered defensive fences like Anxa Sanchez Vicario for more than 30 years. Lindsay Davenport's strength, Martina Hingis' versatility, her own sister Serena, and contemporary hitters like Aina Sabalenka. Ella basically has nothing to offer Venus that she hasn't already faced and conquered. For Ella, the psychological struggle will be fierce. It's a mental challenge. How does she separate the legend from the opponent in front of her as she steps onto a stadium court, looks across the net, and confronts the idol whose posters may have decorated her walls? Ella was able to accomplish this during the Auckland doubles match. The real test for her emerging star, though, will be applying that poise to a high-stakes singles match. Compared to doubles, solo tennis poses a completely different challenge when played alone. And Alexandra Ella needs to enter the court with the utmost confidence that she belongs there, not as a fan, but as the number 31 seed in the world, determined to destroy her rival. During points, she must treat Venus with the brutal violence necessary to prevail at this level rather than with adoration. Ella appears to be psychologically ready based on her recent remarks. Discussing the honor of performing in front of audiences who recognize themselves in her and acknowledge the tremendous support she receives from Filipinos around the world. The atmosphere at Indian Wells is expected to be electrifying, so that support will be crucial. The American audience will erupt when Venus makes a classic passing shot. Filipino fans will roar when Ella fumbles to unleash a breathtaking running forehand. This match and the WTA circuit as a whole in 2026 will be characterized by the clamor of generational and national pride. A few reliable heavyweights at the top dominate the age, but players like Ella are making waves by stringing together good performances at important mandatory tournaments. The gap between ranks 10 and 50 is more unstable than ever. Ella comes in relaxed and fresh after avoiding the qualifying rounds because of her ranking, possessing the capacity to make a